He gave himself a nickname the world laughed at. Then he made the world bow down to it. But now, just when you thought you understood Ilia Malinin, he's thrown it all away. The throne, the title, even the name. And what he replaced it with has left the entire figure skating world completely speechless. This is not just a story about a 21-year-old athlete. This is a story about identity, obsession, and what happens when a god decides he isn't done becoming. Let's go back to the beginning, because you cannot understand the chaos god without understanding where the quad god was born. It was 2020. A teenager from Fairfax, Virginia, barely known outside of skating circles, changed his Instagram handle in the middle of the night. Not to something humble, not to something safe. He changed it to Ilia_quadgod_Malinin. He had just landed his first 2 quadruple jumps, the quad toe loop and the quad salchow, in a senior debut that shocked the room. And instead of waiting for the world to anoint him, he anointed himself. People were furious. Critics called it arrogant. Coaches raised eyebrows. Even fans pushed back. But here's what nobody understood in that moment. Ilia Malinin wasn't making a statement about who he was. He was making a promise about who he would become. And he kept every single word of it. Within 2 years, he became the first human being in the history of figure skating to land a quadruple axel in competition. Not in practice, not in a warm-up, in competition, on a global stage under pressure that would have broken any other skater alive. The move is so technically demanding, so physically brutal, that biomechanics experts had debated for years whether it was even survivable at competition speed. Malinin didn't just survive it, he made it look inevitable. He then pushed further, becoming the first skater to land 7 quadruple jumps in a single free skate program at the 2025 Grand Prix final in Nagoya, a record that didn't just rewrite the record books, it shredded them. And then came the 2026 Winter Olympics in Milan. The entire world was watching. The pressure was impossible to describe. A 21-year-old walking into his first ever Olympic Games as not just the favorite, but the undisputed most dominant figure skater on the planet. The kind of pressure that ends careers. The kind of pressure that breaks legends before they're made. He capped off his 2025-26 season with a 3rd straight World Championship title in Prague. 3 consecutive world titles at 21 years old, in a sport where champions typically peak in their mid to late 20s. What Malinin is doing right now exists outside the normal laws of athletic physics. But here's where the story takes a turn nobody expected. On April 2nd, 2026, Ilia Malinin opened Instagram and typed 6 words that sent shockwaves through every corner of the sports world. He didn't announce a new program. He didn't announce a new record. He announced a new name. New projects, new challenges, new goals, new ideas, new name. The quad god was dead. Long live the chaos god. Now, pause for a second, because I need you to feel the weight of that. This is a man who built his entire brand, his entire identity, his entire legend around a nickname he gave himself as a teenager, a nickname the world initially mocked, a nickname he then went out and made undeniable through years of blood, sacrifice, and quadruple jumps that defy the human body's apparent limits, and he walked away from it. Why? Here's what I think is happening, and this is the part that nobody in mainstream sports media is talking about. Ilia Malinin has always understood something that most athletes never learn. A name is a chapter, not a life sentence. The quad god era was defined by technical conquest, by proving the impossible was possible, by rewriting what a human body could do on ice. That chapter is complete. He conquered it so thoroughly that the title became a ceiling rather than a challenge. The chaos god is something different, something darker, more complex, more unpredictable. Chaos isn't just power, it's the destruction of order, it's the refusal to be categorized. And for a 21-year-old who has already done everything the sport told him he couldn't do, stepping into chaos makes perfect sense. At the recent ISU World Championships in Prague, Malinin received the maximum +5 grade of execution on his short program step sequence from 8 of the 9 judges, a detail that matters more than any quad jump record because it tells you something profound. The quad god was evolving into something more complete, more artistic, more dangerous. A skater who doesn't just conquer the technical side of the sport, but commands the emotional side too. And that combination, raw technical supremacy wrapped in artistic expression, is what chaos represents. Think about what chaos actually means in elite sport. It means unpredictability. It means your opponent cannot prepare for you because they don't know which version of you is walking out onto that ice. It means you operate by a set of rules that you invent in real time. The greatest athletes in every sport, the ones who transcend their era, have all had this quality. Michael Jordan's unpredictability in the fourth quarter, Muhammad Ali's ability to reinvent himself between fights, Tiger Woods at his absolute peak. They didn't just beat you with skill, they beat you with the psychological weight of not knowing what was coming next. That is what Ilia Malinin is stepping into. And here's the question that should be keeping every figure skater in the planet awake at night. If the quad god era produced a clean quad Axel, 7 quads in a single program, 3 straight world titles, and an Olympic gold, what does the chaos god era produce? Because if the first chapter was about dominance and the second chapter is about chaos, there are no limits left, no ceilings, no records sacred enough to survive contact with whatever Malinin does next. The figure skating world has spent 6 years trying to catch up to who Ilia Malinin was. Nobody is even remotely prepared for who he's becoming. The most dangerous athlete isn't the one who has won everything. It's the one who has won everything and decided it isn't enough. The one who burned down the trophy room and started over, not because they failed, because success felt too small. The quad god era proved Ilia Malinin was the best figure skater alive. The chaos god era will prove something far more unsettling, that the best figure skater alive was just the beginning. The god of quads is gone. What replaced him doesn't have a rulebook, doesn't have a ceiling, doesn't have a limit. Welcome to the era of chaos. If you're watching this and you followed Ilia's journey, drop a comment below and tell me, do you think the Chaos God era will be even bigger than the Quad God era? And before you leave, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell, because the next chapter of this story is going to move fast, and you don't want to miss a single second of it.